What's up guys, DuArktik here with another Marvel Strike Force video, and in this video we are going to talk about the Cabal. We're going to take a look at the best T4s, ISO weight, the best game modes where you can use them, and also talk about different combos that you can use with these characters as a whole, but also individually, which teams you can pair them up in order to increase your efficiency in game modes like Cosmic Crucible and make sure you are more successful. So we're going to break down all the information that you need to know, and as always, if you like information on these videos, make sure you share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content, and make sure you smash that like button like a boss. Okay, so the Cabal, very powerful team. As I said, you can use them individually, you can use them separately on different teams, and something that you have to decide early on with this team is if you're going to use them for their kits or if you're going to use them for their stats. They have very powerful stats, they have very powerful kits, but you can decide to cheap out on these characters and pair them up with other very powerful characters like Apocalypse, Super Skrull, or even Morgan Le Fay, and use the value of these characters just for their kit potential, right? This is going to save you a ton of gold, it's going to save you a ton of gear, it's going to save you a ton of T4s, but once again, if you use them for the stats, you are not losing anything apart from the resources, but they really have a lot of value on their kits, but also on their stats. It's up to you to decide how you want to use this team, but yes, you can definitely cheap out on these characters. So all the information that you're going to break down on this video, you can find on my infographics. They're available on my Discord for free. You can join with the link in the description, and you'll have all the information that you need to know in terms of T4s, ISO weights, and also my game modes. The game modes, I think they're going to be the best one. So let's start off by breaking down the information on the T4s, and we're going to start off with Iron Patriot. So Iron Patriot, very interesting character, and he has a very powerful basic because he's also going to assist all the time when he's together with the Cabal, and whenever he also does the ISO weight attack or assist and so on. So when you do the T4, we're going to apply negative effects. Not only are we going to apply defense down, but also heal block, disrupt, and slow, and this is going to be for 2 turns. He's also going to clear immunity, as you can see, and this is going to be very powerful. This slow, this disrupt, heal block that he applies can completely shut down other characters, and because the Iron Patriot also stops the enemies from getting speed bar, all of these negative effects will have even additional value because, well, the faster you apply slow to them, the longer it's gonna take them for take a turn, and then the disrupt is gonna stop them from getting positive effects. The heal block is going to stop them from healing. So once again, getting these additional negative effects, and especially for 2 turns, is going to be crucial for your success when you use Iron Patriot. So the basic is definitely a must-have T4 for him. In terms of the special, when you do the T4, you just increase the number of positive effects that you are clearing from the enemies from 3 to all. You're also increasing the piercing damage that you do, but the damage multiplier is very small, so I would not bother with a special on the Iron Patriot. Taking a look at the ultimate, we have the same scenario. The multiplier is not super high. This is a turn 2 ability. When you do the T4, increase the damage a little bit on multiple targets. You are also going to apply more vulnerabilities to the enemies, but once again, because this guy is assisting all the time, depending on the ISO weight you have, this might not have a lot of relevance. Finally, we have his passive. In Cosmic Crucible, this character has 2 or more Cabal allies. Enemies with vulnerability cannot gain speed bar. This is going to affect characters like Super Skrull, like Apocalypse, like Morgan Le Fay, if they have the vulnerability, and they will have vulnerability on spawn, then after spawn they cannot get any kinds of speed bars. So this is going to be very powerful because it shuts down all those characters that I mentioned. It also stops enemies from getting stealth, not super important, but this is a must-have T4 if you care about Cosmic Crucible. And I would definitely recommend to do the basic and the passive. The other ones, once again, you can skip as they are not super important, and just focus on those 2. Let's take a look at Namor. Namor is a very interesting character, depending if you are using him on defense, depending if you are using him on offense, and depending on which characters you are pairing up with him, as a solo character or together with the Cabal. So on his basic, if you do the T4, we are going to increase the damage on primary target, and he also has a siege chance like Iron Patriot. Not as much, but he still has some. So whenever he assists, he is also going to apply Blitz. This is also affected by the striker as a weight. So yes, you could use him as a striker, but we're going to talk about a bit later on about that, because you should use him only as a striker on specific scenarios. Then with a special T4 on Namor is going to do more damage to multiple targets, and this ability has a decent multiplier, and it also has a low cooldown. So you can use this ability quite often, and this ability does tons and tons of damage. My Namor, as you guys saw, is quite big, and I was able for this part alone to crit for like 3 million damage, and then it also has these additional attacks after. And in Cosmic Crucible, it also has Blitz for each of those attacks. So this ability is quite nasty. It absolutely obliterates. Now, do you need this ability? No, you don't need this ability, but it's definitely a very nice way of to maximize your damage output of Namor. And this is why I said at the beginning of the video, you have to decide if you're going to use them for their kits or for their stats. And if you're going to use them for their stats, then this is definitely a must-have ability. Then we have the ultimate of Namor. If you do the T4 on this ability, instead of flipping 3 positive effects, you're gonna flip all of them. Just remember that the Iron Patriot is also clearing the positive effects, and Iron Patriot goes first. So depending on how you have this team set up, or if you're using Namor on a different team or Iron Patriot on a different team, this ability might not have any value. So keep that in mind, because flipping is better than clearing, and this is why the special of Iron Patriot, it's such a skippable ability when you have them all together. Then on top of that, on top of flipping all the positive effects, you're also going to reduce the speed bar on all targets by 50% rather than 40%. Once again, depending if you are using Namor alone, with other teams, or if you're using them together with Cabal, this ability might have more or less value. You always want to slow down your enemies before you do this ability to make sure that the 50% have their maximum value. So it's nice to pair up, for example, Namor with new warriors like Cloak, like Firestar, and so on. So the ultimate is definitely nice to have, must-have T4. It's not really must-have because he's powerful alone, but if you really want to maximize the potential, it's definitely nice to have T4. And finally, we have the T4 on the passive for Namor. If you do T4 on the passive, we are going to increase the damage of Fantastic Four and Cabal allies by 20%. And in Cosmic Crucible, if you have 2 or more Cabal allies, enemies cannot spawn with death proof. The enemies cannot gain death proof. It's not on spawn, it's always. So even in the middle of the fight, they still cannot gain the death proofs. Very powerful against teams like Infinity Watch, very powerful against the Black Cat, very powerful also against the Lizard. So all of the T4s from Namor are very good or decent, depends of the context. So this is definitely a character that you could cheap out on, and like I said, you can use him for his kit and not focus on these T4s. Once again, they are nice to have, but they are not mandatory. All of them can be skippable because the base abilities alone are quite strong as they are. Moving on for the leader. Now the leader has a very powerful basic where he's going to call for assist or in a Cabal ally or a Gamma ally. If you have Iron Patriot and Namor, he always calls Namor for assist. If you have a Gamma ally, he's going to call Iron Patriot and a Gamma ally. If you only have Gamma allies, he's only going to call one Gamma ally. But this is a decent T4. You are more likely than not using this guy as a striker. But the damage potential is not a lot. You're just using this for the utility. The basic usually is a turn 3 ability. So yes, it's a nice T4, but once again, it's something that you can definitely skip if you are low on T4s. Then we have the special. The special is a must-have T4. In Cosmic Crucible, you're going to gain Safeguard for self. and villain allies, and also gamma allies. So this is going to affect your She-Hulk, your Hulk, your Brawn, but all villains. So this is Cabal, but not only Cabal, also Super Skrull, Apocalypse, Dormammu, Emma Frost, yes, Morgan Le Fay, all kinds of them. It also increases the damage on primary target, and it also calls one additional ally for a villain ally to assist. Now, this additional assist is very important because Iron Patriot is going to increase the damage of all villains by 50%. And if they have vulnerabilities, 10% for each vulnerability. So this might not seem like much, like we have seen in other characters like Emma Frost, but all that extra damage that Iron Patriot is providing is really going to increase the value of this assist mechanic with the leader special. So Cosmic Crucible Safeguard must have, but once again, call as villains for assist is also very nice to have if you have them all together. In terms of the ultimate, this ability is going to clear revive once from the primary target and adjacent targets. This is going to work in all game modes, so you can use against Dormammu, for example, in Alliance Wars, or even in Dark Dimension if you face Dormammu there. And it's also going to increase the damage, and better than all of that is that the leader is going to provide additional energy for Cabal allies, but also to all villain allies in Cosmic Crucible. So this ability, very, very powerful in Cosmic Crucible, but also good enough to use, for example, for Alliance Wars. So, in my opinion, if it's not a must-have ability, it's almost there, because how much it provides to other characters. Now, this energy will not affect the leader. It only provides energy to other villains or to other Cabal allies, so keep that in mind. And finally, we have his passive on spawn apply safeguard to self and Cabal allies. This is very, very powerful because they spawn with a bunch of buffs, and that means that the enemies will not be able to remove them. And this works in all game modes: Arena, Cosmic Crucible, Alliance Wars. Yes, it works in all of them, even Dark Dimension. Until this character takes a turn, on enemy turn, bury self and villain allies for 10% of this character's max health. The leader has a ton of health, and this is going to increase the value of the leader's stats, right? As I mentioned before, you can use these characters for their kits or for their stats, but if you decide to go for the stats, then this ability is going to provide a lot of barrier. And in game modes like Dark Dimension, where you face multiple enemies, this barrier is going to protect your entire team. And even if you face like 5 characters, it's additional 10% that you are getting, up to 30, but then the character takes another turn and you get more barrier, and so on, so on. It increases the sustainability of this team by so much. It's really incredible what they can do in this type of game modes, which as a face value, most people might not realize right away. On top of that, the passive of the leader is also going to stop the enemies from gaining safeguard in Cosmic Crucible as long as you have 2 or more Cabal allies. So this passive ability is definitely a banger, not only for the safeguard but also for this extra barrier and all the benefit effects that you have in Cosmic Crucible. So for the leader, I would definitely do the passive, the ultimate, the special, and skip the basic. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the ISO suggestions for these characters. This is going to depend if you're using them on defense, if you're using them on offense, and this is because the AI is dumb and you don't know for sure if they are going to attack the right target or if they are going to use their abilities properly. So with Iron Patriot, you can use him as a skirmisher on defense or as a raider on offense. This is also going to be important if you can afford. If you can afford ISO weight blue level 5, you can use him as a raider level 5. Great. If you cannot afford, go skirmisher level 4, because the negative effects that he applies with the basic is more important than the damage that he can do with the special or with the ultimate. With Namor, depending if you're using him on defense or on offense, you might want to use him as a striker or as a raider. And most of the times, you use striker on offense and use raider on defense. But for Namor, it's very interesting that you want to use the opposite. Because the special ability does so much damage, you actually benefit more of using raider on offense when you can decide exactly where to attack, which enemies have the most vulnerabilities for you to attack into, than the striker. The striker is going to be better on defense. Once again, it's very unusual, but it's going to be better on defense because of all the system mechanics that you have with the leader. And then the striker as a weight from AI will provide more value because the AI does not know which characters have the vulnerabilities, and like this, the system mechanics will benefit more of that striker as a weight because it's going to increase the damage of the bleeds, and that's what the basic does. And finally, we have the leader. I think the only option that you can use with the leader is striker, and this is because he applies barrier, he flips negative effects into positive effects on the Cabal allies. He also clears negative effects away from other villain allies. And the other options that we have, like skirmisher, healer, raider, fortifier, they're not super important, so I just focus on the leader as a striker, once again because you are applying also a ton of vulnerabilities with the other characters, and also because you have this assist mechanic with the Iron Patriot, so you could use him to triple tap constantly. Okay, so that's the ISO weight. We also have the T4s, you can see it right here. Orange, it means they are good for all game modes. Purple means they are good for Cosmic Crucible, mostly Cosmic Crucible. Now let's talk about the best game modes for these guys. Once again, you can use them individually or as a team, depending if you are pairing them up with stronger characters or weaker characters. So in Blitz, they open a lot of opportunities. You can use them in 2 different teams. Check out my Blitz teams video next week. In Arena, they are not providing a lot of value now, but this might change. In raids, right now we don't really need them, which is fine. We have fine raid teams at the moment. In Artemation, they are only good if you are using them together. If you are not using them together, they actually don't have a lot of value, so keep this in mind. If you decide to take them to Dark Dimension, you have to take the 3, otherwise they are not going to be as good. In terms of Alliance Wars, they actually have a decent amount of value if you pair them up with other villain characters, especially like Dormammu, to keep them alive, and Emma Frost to give speed advantage, and they can be quite destructive on defense or on offense as you prefer, and this is going to be even more accentuated because they have the safeguard on spawn in all game modes. The same goes for Avengers Tower, and finally we have a Cosmic Crucible. As a whole or solo with other teams, they are very, very powerful. So which are the teams that you want to pair up with the Cabal? So for example, Namor, you can use them together with the new warriors. The new warriors, they go quite fast, they can turn rewind the enemies with the Firestar, with Cloak, and Namor is going to turn rewind them even more, allowing the new warriors to take a second turn and usually obliterate the enemies that you are facing. The leader, you can use him together with Gamma, you can use them together, the leader together with Masters of Evil, you can use the leader together with the Sinister Six, Superior Six. He's very, very powerful with any kind of villains, but especially if they have crit mechanics, because the leader increases the crit chance and crit damage. And for example, if you put him together with Kang and the Masters of Evil, because they already have native crit chance and crit damage, the leader is going to increase that even more without relying on any kind of other mechanics. And finally, we have Iron Patriot. Iron Patriot is going to give 50% damage to any villains, so you can pretty much use them. You can pretty much use him anywhere. Once again, or with the Masters of Evil, or with the Weapon X, or with whichever villain characters you are using. For example, or Solo Apocalypse with Emma Frost, or with the Super Scroll, anything like that. Once again, these characters, they have individual value, and you can use them on different teams in order to increase their potential and your efficiency on different matches. So this is going to be a very, very interesting team. In my opinion, it's worth it to invest on them, but as I said, you don't have to. Their kits are so powerful, and especially if you're using them with Skirmisher, Striker, Isolate, and so on, their kits are so powerful that you can just use them for their kits, and ignore the stats and save a bunch of gold for other teams. But if you really care about Cosmic Crucible and if you really want to expand the options that you have for different matches, this is definitely a team that I would recommend for you to gear up. And that's going to be the video for now, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below if you use them together with any other kind of setup. If you are using them with a specific team in Alliance Wars, I actually have not made a lot of experiences with them in Alliance Wars, just basic stuff. So waiting for your comments below, letting me know what are the best combos where we are using them in Alliance Wars. And that's going to be all for now, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, and if you found the video helpful, make sure to share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe for more Mouse Force content, and I'll catch you guys later.